Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, has pretty much just backstabbed the United States of America as well as the rest of the Western world, and so now President Trump is going scorched earth. Now, as a bit of background here, President Trump was actually set to meet with the CCP leader Xi Jinping in South Korea just around 2 weeks from now at the upcoming APEC summit, APEC meaning Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation. However, as things currently stand, it would seem as if the days of economic cooperation with China, the CCP, have officially come to an end. You see, yesterday evening, the CCP sent out letters to various Western nations around the world, including the United States of America, indicating that they were pretty much going to be completely cutting off all of their exports of rare earth minerals. And as you all know, regrettably, much of the world's economy is dependent on those Chinese minerals. Folks, really, this is just yet another classic example of Chinese economic warfare. But so, ladies and gentlemen, like I just said, in response to this CCP treachery, President Trump has just gone absolutely scorched earth. You see, President Trump just took to Truth Social and dropped what can only be compared to an orbital nuke, because I'll tell you what, he is not holding punches against the CCP anymore. Take a look. Some very strange things are happening in China. They are becoming very hostile and sending letters to countries throughout the world that they want to impose export controls on each and every element of production having to do with rare earths and virtually anything else that they can think of, even if it's not manufactured in China. Nobody has ever seen anything like this, but essentially it would clog the markets and make life difficult for virtually every country in the world, especially for China. We have been contacted by other countries who are extremely angry at this great trade hostility, which came out of nowhere. Our relationship with China over the past 6 months has been a very good one, thereby making this move on trade an even more surprising one. I have always felt that they've been lying in wait, and now, as usual, I have been proven right. There is no way that China should be allowed to hold the world captive, but that seems to have been their plan for quite some time, starting with the magnets and other elements that they have quietly amassed into somewhat of a monopoly position, a rather sinister and hostile move, to say the least. But the United States has monopoly positions also, much stronger and more far-reaching than China's. I have just not chosen to use them. There was never a reason for me to do so until now. The letter they sent is many pages long and details with great specificity each and every element that they want to withhold from other nations. Things that were routine are no longer routine at all. I have not spoken to President Xi because there was no reason to do so. This was a real surprise, not only to me, but to all the leaders of the free world. I was to meet with President Xi in 2 weeks at APEC in South Korea, but now there seems to be no reason to do so. The Chinese leaders were especially inappropriate in that this was the day that, after 3,000 years of bedlam and fighting, there is peace in the Middle East. I wonder if that timing was coincidental. Depending on what China says about the hostile order that they have just put out, I will be forced as President of the United States of America to financially counter their move. For every element that they have been able to monopolize, we have 2. I never thought it would come to this, but perhaps, as with all things, the time has come. Ultimately, though potentially painful, it will be a very good thing in the end for the USA. One of the policies that we are calculating at this moment is a massive increase of tariffs on Chinese products coming into the United States of America. There are many other countermeasures that are likewise under serious consideration as well. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And so, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Like I said, President Trump just went absolutely scorched earth on China, the CCP, for the entire world to see. Really, the message is this: if you backstab the United States of America, all bets are off. The meetings will be canceled, the pressure will increase, and President Trump's tariffs will come crashing down on you. And also, keep in mind, already, right this very moment, President Trump has maintained not only a flat 10% reciprocal trade tariff on everything coming out of China, but also an additional 20% flat tariff because they've refused to crack down on the fentanyl precursor chemicals currently pouring out of their country. So combined, President Trump has maintained a whopping flat 30% tariff on every single thing coming out of China, and as it would seem, that number is about to be getting substantially higher. But now, folks, all of this harkens back to something that I've been saying here on my broadcasts for a very long time now. The CCP really is our biggest adversary as we navigate through the 21st century, and as you might have noticed, President Trump's entire geopolitical strategy is aimed at countering Chinese aggression. Why is President Trump trying to retake the Panama Canal? Because of China. Why does Trump want Greenland? Well, because of China. Where is all of the fentanyl originally coming from? China. Who's been stealing all of our intellectual property and spying in American universities and American military bases? China. Who's been ripping off the American economy for decades now? China. So you get my point. China is very clearly a highly adversarial nation, and President Trump is fully aware. And you know what? Thank God for that, because hey, if the looming CCP threat isn't taken seriously, before we know it, it'll be too late to do anything about it. But you know what? On that note, take a listen to what Stephen Miller had to say just a couple months ago about this entire dynamic between the USA and China.
I believe that China will be forced very soon to come to the table for the simple reason that China's economy is completely dependent on its exports to the United States and to the West. China has built its entire industrial strategy since its entrance into the World Trade Organization on being able to sell highly subsidized, currency-manipulated, dumped goods into U.S. markets. It is an industrial strategy from China to product dump strategically to take out American steel, to take out American aluminum, to take out core American defense industries and defense needs so that we're reliant on China. And what's happening here is that China is now discovering for the first time that they have met an American president who is not going to be intimidated, who's not going to be bullied, who's not going to be coerced, who's going to stand up for our essential security needs.
Yeah,
China needs us because of their export dependency on China.
It's going to be very interesting to.
And so, folks, everything he just said is absolutely true. President Trump's tariffs have already been wreaking havoc on the Chinese economy, and so now, in both an incredibly desperate and miscalculated play, they've just kicked off a trade war with the entire Western world, most notably the United States of America. But as we've highlighted in today's video, now that President Trump is back in the White House, we finally have a competent leader back in charge, which means that finally we are done buckling under the pressure of the Chinese Communist Party, and finally we are putting America first.